What's up, guys? So this is going to be the video for the Montreal secret puzzle. One quick thing about Montreal. What Montreal actually means is the Royal Mountain. So that's kind of a breakdown of the name. And let's get started with the actual puzzle. Now, one of the first things that you'll probably notice about the picture, this by far is definitely not my favorite picture of John Jude Palancar's. The picture is really dark, mostly black. It's kind of hard to make out any real definition on the lower part of the body. Whether it's because of the poor print quality from the publisher or because it was intended to be dark. I know the original picture was in the Expedition Unknown, and it definitely looked like it had a bit more of a high definition tone to it, so you could probably see more. But what a lot of people have said is that this picture is kind of reminiscent of Rembrandt. And you can see a picture to your left. This is Rembrandt with his little hat. His hair is sticking out, and definitely he has that kind of same look. You have the white around the neck, and the entire picture is pretty dark aside from that. The color tone is also very similar in the background. Here's another picture of Rembrandt from an earlier time, and you can see that it's kind of similar as well. He's wearing the same style hat. The hair is puffed out. So, this picture that John Jude Palancar painted for Montreal could be in relationship to Rembrandt. However, Rembrandt was a Dutch painter. I don't know what this would have to do with Dutch. So we'll talk about the verses first. The first two verses are going to be kind of hard to understand. First, it says lane, just by itself, lane. Then it says 222. You'll see an arc of lights. So this is kind of an ambiguous term if you don't know what you're talking about. The next clues, though, are going to be something that's going to help us a lot. When it says weight and roots extended together save the sight of granite halls or granite walls, wind-swept halls, citadel in the night. Originally, when I did this puzzle was back at the end of 2023, so I had done a lot of research, and I actually found that quote verbatim from Weight and Roots Extended all the way through Citadel of the Night. Unfortunately, a couple years, year and a half later, I am unable to find that same quote, which is a lesson to you guys. Bookmark your sources if you want to have them for future reference. So instead of being able to cite my source directly, I'm just going to have to show you what Citadel in the Night means. And if we take a look real quickly, if we do a little research, we could see that there was an actual citadel in the city of Montreal. And this was a fortress way back in the day. It was built in 1690, and it was demolished by the British in 1821. What happened then was they decided to build St. Helen Island Fort. And this happened in between 1820 and 1824, built by the British. So the Citadel of the Night that used to be on one side actually was rebuilt on the island here. So you can see that the time frame is exactly the same. So this became the new Citadel of the Night. And when it says weights and roots extended together save the sight of granite walls and windswept halls. Well, for a time, this fort was completely abandoned. After the British Army left, it was left in ruins. So if it was not being cared for at all, obviously the wind is going to be the only broom that sweeps those halls. But during the 1930s, it was restored as a job creation project during the Great Depression. So they actually rebuilt this site just because it was an old fort and it had a use. During the Second World War, it was used as an internment camp for Italians who were in the United Kingdom at the time. So this fortress or this fort was actually saved just because it had a purpose, and that purpose was to be a prison at the time. This island, or this fort on the island, St. Helen Island Fort, that is going to be our first clue. So if we were to zoom in right here, we can see that the Fort de Ile Saint Helene is located right here. And once we understand that that's the name for the wind and roots extended all the way down to the Citadel in the Night, then we can start working backwards. and see what that lane 22 and you'll see an arc of lights mean. And real quickly, we'll talk about the history of the island, which was discovered by a French explorer, Samuel de Champlain, in 1611. So we know that from the New York puzzle, we had Verrazano come over in 1524, but this area was explored by the French, by another person sent by France to explore this area, and that's why the island's name is St. Helens Island. It was named after Samuel de Champlain's wife. Now, what's most interesting about this island is that during the 1967 World's Fair, in a sense, they decided to do a lot of building just to get this place ready. And in the early 1960s, you can see it says 28 million tons of fill were needed to uh, build an island. They actually built Notre Dame Island using this fill excavation, which they got from building the subway system out there. If you guys have ever rode the Montreal subways, it's great. It's on time and you never have to worry. So definitely props to them. Um, and then what they did with all of that is they built from scratch this island right here called Notre Dame Island. So we get a little bit of the history for what this area is. It's a park, but it was created from absolutely nothing. If you're thinking back to New York, you also know that Battery Park, that area along the lower coast of New York, there was a lot of fill that was used from a lot of the skyscrapers, which actually created a lot of the exterior part of New York, Manhattan Island. So all of that isn't original. That stuff was man-made, similar to how out here the French government built St. Helens Island. So going back to our map here, if we know that this island, Ile Notre Dame, was man-made, and they're talking about the Fort de Ile Saint Helene, and we're looking for a lane somewhere. Well, we could say that the lane is right here in between the St. Lawrence River, which is the Chanel Lemoyne, or we could say that it's a shipping lane, which is right to the left. And you can see that from this area, the old port of Montreal, you have lots of ships coming and going. So what lane means to me, similar to how we were talking about the arm extending in New York, we're going to be looking for a waterway as our lane. So you could either say right here on this side, or you could say to the left, the St. Lawrence River, Chanel Lemoyne. This kind of looks like a smaller lane right here. This on the left looks more like a shipping lane for ships. Whichever one you want to use, it's cool. But we'll talk more about that in a bit. The other clue that says 222. I can't remember exactly where I heard it. It might have been PB Works. I tried to find that reference about the 222. I couldn't find it, unfortunately, but I read something at one point in time that I thought made the most sense. And if you're looking at 222 in Roman numerals, it would be II XXII. What that means to me is it looks similar like a bridge, some kind of a bridge suspension or something of that regard. Um, I didn't find that on my own. I actually read that from somebody else. So whoever found that, you're a genius, because there actually is a bridge right above the Fort de Ile Saint Helene. This is called the Jacques Cartier Bridge. And if we pull up who Jacques Cartier was, we could see that he was an explorer. Over here in the passage about the first voyage, it talks a little bit about the King Francis I of Spain, how he hired Giovanni de Verrazano. And this guy, Cartier, he started to go on trips out this way in 1534. So here we have two explorers, Samuel de Champlain and we have Jacques Cartier. Um, Similar to in New York, we were talking about Verrazano. We have ourselves three explorers. And not to mention in Puzzle 6, San Francisco, we talked about Sir Francis Drake, who was another explorer. So we have an idea of a little bit of history here. We're talking about some explorers. So that's something to note right there. So if that XXII means a bridge, and here it's labeled the Jacques Cartier Bridge, we're going to want to bookmark that. And if we want to use the lane right here and say it's the shipping lane, this is probably going to be where our 1 goes. In this puzzle right here, this is going to be a 10. So we're going to be looking to create a 10 using the secret method of the number being embedded in both the puzzle and the picture. So we are on our way. Now the next clue is going to be a little more difficult. It says, a wingless bird ascended, born of ancient dreams of flight. This was a little tough. I mean, everybody has their ideas of what this could be. What is a flightless bird? It's obviously a bird that can't fly. Is it a penguin or something? It took a little bit for me to kind of put this together, and I don't think anybody has seen it because I would have read about it. But if you look at the island right here, I want you to take an outline or take a look at the outline that you're going to see here. If you look right here, kind of where the bridge is and where it has an exit to exit onto the island, this right here kind of looks like a bird's head right here. And if we follow this around, we can kind of see the outline of a bird. And it's even got some feet and whatnot, you know, goes up. So I don't think anybody has seen this before. The island itself is kind of the outline of a bird. This might be a technique that we might see in the future, just a heads up. But the bird is actually embedded in the roads in the island. So, of course, if it's a bird that's built into the road, it's never going to get off the ground and fly. So the one thing we know about this is that we want to make a circle now. You know, we want to have that number 10 here. So if we were going from the fort going in a clockwise manner, clockwise, we would be going around the bird. And if you wanted to go all the way down, you could, but I would just suggest maybe coming here, the Chem de Tour de l'Île, and come around, and it will take you back to right about where the fort is. Here, this might be considered the foot right here. So if we go around the bird right here, all the way up, we would see that there's this road that would take us right back up to the fort. And in order to make a circle, we're going to have to get back to our original point, which is the Fort de Lille. So the next clue is beneath the only standing member of a forest to the south. Well, what could this mean? A forest to the south. If we were to zoom out, you know, you could see that this island is pretty well populated with trees. Um, you know, if they really wanted to talk about the south end of the island, this lower half of the island is where they held the Expo 67. If you guys ever wonder about the Montreal baseball team, the Expos, well, they were actually named after the Expo or Exposition of 67. So looking for a only standing member of a forest sounds pretty absurd. I mean, you're looking for a needle in a haystack and there isn't any kind of single tree. If we could pull up a map from 1982, it might be easier to see. But what I am going to suggest, because we know that we're trying to get back to our starting point, we would need to have something that would get us to that point, right? So what I'm going to suggest might sound a little interesting, but if you look at this area right here, it's kind of circle with a line down here. I'm not going to say that it's a tree per se, but this might be the only tree that looks like in the road, the outline of a tree. You have other things on the side here and, you know, other parts of the island, but nothing really built into the road, kind of like our bird here. So if we're looking at that, I'm going to say that this is the tree, even though this isn't all the way to the south. But it could be a split beneath the only standing member of a forest, which could be this road tree or this tree that is embedded in the road. And then we would talk next about the next clue, which is to the south, white stone closest. At 12 paces from the west side, get permission to dig it out. Now, what we're going to need to do is we're going to have to examine the picture and see what we could find first. First, we were going to do the lane, which we said was this shipping lane right here, all the way up to the Jacques Cartier Bridge. This would start at right about the old port in Montreal and then take us to the Jacques Cartier Bridge. If we wanted to take a look at the Jacques Cartier Bridge, though, I know it says Tower of Lights or an Arc of Lights to see. Just want to show you guys this picture of the bridge. It's lit up in different colors, so definitely an arc of lights right there for you to see. Next, we'd be going from Fort St. Helene around this flightless bird right here. And right about at the southern tip right there is going to be where that the bird's leg was. And then if we connected it, we'd be right around there doing our digging. So we have a 10 right there. And if we looked over here on the other side, this right here could be our bridge right there. I just showed you what it looked like. And our lane would probably be just above it. So that's our shipping lane. I know this might be a reference to the Notre Dame, and this could be the Grand Prix over on the other island, but for the time being, we're just going to say that this is our lane. Next, we'd be right back up at the top. And if we were looking at the Fort St. Helen, we could see that the outline right here kind of resembles that of the hat, with this little dot right here being kind of our giveaway. So the fort starts right about there. We'd be going basically around. And then I don't know if anybody's ever noticed, but if you look at this picture upside down, here you can kind of see the outline of a bird. This is a bird beak right here. Here's the neck. So there's a bird upside down in the collar. So we'll just go around that. Here's the bird going around. And then we would be back right about there. I said that if you looked at it, this would kind of appear to be the long palm right there. So if we got back, we'd be going up the long palm. And this is about where we wanted to be. Boots on the ground, looking at it from this angle and zooming in on our picture, we could see that this cannon looks like the nose in a bit. We have the two wheels looking like the nostrils, and here's the nose as the cannon. And if we were to look directly at the front gate, this might not be the clearest picture, but it kind of has the overarch of the top of the face right here. The eyes would be on both sides, but if the nose was in front of us and we saw the gate, it would kind of resemble a face and the nose. So that's what I believe it to be. And in the verse it says, white stone closest at 12 paces from the west side. So if this is the west side right here, stone closest 12 paces would put us somewhere in this area right here. I would say right under the cannon. That would be the best bet for it. Looking from an above picture, you know, we got this circular outline right here, which could easily be the shape of the head right here. So we're looking for it just right about there. And if we wanted to make sure all our numbers lined up correctly, we could see our 10 here, our 10 here, and we just want to see if we can make a 10 somewhere on the hands. I'll use a smaller brush, but we could see that there's a gap right here, 1, and this kind of looks like a circle, except it has this little thing in the middle, which is similar to the head right here that we just did. So we're looking at a 10, a 1 and a 0, 10, even though this is on its side, and then a 10 in the hands. So everything lines up. If you guys get a chance to dig, remember to bring a prodder with you. If you can't get a ground penetrating radar, try and get permission if possible, but you know, a lot of red tape out there. So good luck, guys. The puzzle we'll be doing next is St. Augustine, and then we'll only have one left. So I'll talk to you then.